Don't travel to Egypt without watching this video.
I have never before or since felt so ill in my entire life.
You're going shopping, do not shop with American dollars.
I'm just thinking, have a little bit of shame, just a little bit.
But what happened next is that I was treated like a fucking criminal.
This is how you get a tourist be really annoyed and not want to come back ever.
To be quite honest, Egypt is kind of extreme. So extreme times, extreme measures, you know.
We literally pick up our luggage off the side of a freeway. Off the side of a freeway.
To my channel, it's your girl Sandy, and welcome back to another episode of The World is Ghetto. Yes, y'all, before we take it to the streets of Egypt, I want to say this: thank you so much. We got to 20k, y'all. Can y'all even believe it? Like, my game ones, I want to say this: I appreciate y'all. I always see y'all in the comments. Y'all always engaging. Y'all always doing y'all big one, and I appreciate y'all. To the newcomers, I really appreciate y'all. My name is Sandy again. For those who haven't known my name till this time, my name is Sandy. Welcome to the squad. If you want to join it, make sure you subscribe, because you guys, this is crazy. And I want to say this: it wouldn't happen without you guys, for real. Like, I am so grateful. I'm mind blown. This is the first time I can say in my life that I'm mind blown like crazy, you know what I'm saying? And it wouldn't happen with you guys. You guys are really amazing in the comments. We learn a bunch of stuff. Like, I've been learning a bunch of stuff from y'all in the comments. Like, a lot of y'all are smart down there. Like, so I just want to say this: thank you so much for being part of this journey. Like, and I know we're only going up. Like, you guys, I can't even believe this. I was literally here. I'm gonna put a clip for y'all to see this. I'm gonna put a clip for when I was even begging for, I'm not gonna say begging, but like when I was asking you guys to support me, to get me to 500 or 1,000. Like, you guys, we came a long way. The comment section too, I've been learning. So I want to say that before, I wanted to say that before we move on to the video, because yeah, we honestly have to celebrate this milestone. So with that being said, let's get into the streets of Egypt. For those of you guys who don't know where Egypt is, it's actually in Northeast Africa, honey. We're going to Africa. We're taking it to Africa. It's in Northeast Africa, and I've been requesting this video a lot. Like, I've been seeing Egypt, the street vendors in Egypt. Oh my God, Egypt. Y'all got to see about the Egypt airport. Oh my God, we got to get that Egypt. So I got it for y'all. Like, it's a whole combination of it all here. And like I said, we always learn a bunch of things. Like, honestly, I also learned just by editing. I learned a whole bunch of stuff from this video, and I hope you guys can learn something too. So without further ado, I hope you're comfortable. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're feeling blessed. Let's get right into it.
If you're going to Egypt, this is something you need to know. When you're going shopping, do not shop with American dollars. Take your money and go exchange it for Egyptian pounds, because you'll be ripped off big time. On our last day there, we went to a place in Cairo called Khana Khalili, and I had my money, I had my Egyptian money. And I also had my nephews with me, which, you know, they speak Arabic, but I also lived there before, so I know how to bargain. All of the shop owners are going to want to take you into their shops. Come on, come see what we have. Come shop at my shop. Here's a little this and camels and whatever. All right, so this one guy called us into his shop, and I was like, okay, y'all come on in. He has some great stuff in here. Well, there was this American lady in there, and she was buying a t-shirt. And he said, 60, 60, 60. Okay, 60, I'll take 60. I'm like, wow, 60 pounds, that's not bad. I'm going to get a lot of these shirts. That woman pulled out 60 American dollars. $60, y'all. That shirt was like at least $1.50, maybe $2. He was charging her 120 American dollars for one t-shirt, and she got him down to 60. I lost my shit. I lost my mind. She walks out after paying this guy $60 for a t-shirt. She walks out of the shop, and he looks at me and says, what do you want? I said, what do I want? And I told him in Arabic, I said, you're a thief. I said, I will never buy anything from this shop. I said, God saw what you did, and that was wrong. His head went down so quick, because when you bring God into the situation, and I called him a harami, a thief. I said, you're into harami. You know, you took that money from that woman knowing what you did was wrong. So I walked out of his shop. I didn't buy anything from him. So when you're going to Egypt, bring your American money and go exchange it. It's 48 pounds per dollar. You know, take someone with you that speaks Arabic. Unless you want to just pay $60 for a t-shirt, that's you. But I felt so bad for her. So bad, because, you know, they're in need of money, which I understand, but don't do that. Don't rip people off like that, because what goes around comes around. God's not going to bless you. Anyway, we bought some stuff too, but I did it the right way. You know, I went to the right shop, so I found honest people. I got Ellie and her friends a bunch of little camels. Okay, so the guy told me a price, and they tell you a price that's 5 times more so you can bargain. They expect to do that because that's the whole part of it. That's the fun of it, is bargaining. That's what these shops do. So we bought a crap ton of camels. So these little camels cost me 25 pounds each, which is 50 cents. 50 cents each. He wanted 150. No, he wanted 100 pounds each. And outside they're 25, but at his shop. So we just told him, okay, we'll just go to the other shop and buy them for 25. He said, no, take them all, 25 each. So we got all these little camels for 50 cents each. And plus I give them tips, you know, because they're honest. They weren't trying to steal from us and, you know, treat us like the other guy was. And then I bought prayer beads for everyone. I got me the jadeite prayer beads. And these were $1 each. $1 each. So 50 pounds. They were 50 Egyptian pounds each, so these were $1 each. I got a short one and a long one. We got this one. The girls picked this out for Papa. And then Hannah picked out this for her daddy, a red one. She got this one for Ellie. And then this one is for Hamu. They bought that for Hamu. She got Ellie some little bags, and these were 40 pounds each, which is like 90 cents. We didn't even have to negotiate these. He just said, 40 pounds. I'm like, okay, we'll take them. So they're really cute little coin purses. And this is one of the things I bought for myself from a shop in Tunis. It says Allah, which is God. And this cost me $2. It was 100 pounds. So that cost me $2. I was trying to find these scarves with the Palestinian colors, but they didn't have any. So I just ended up buying this red one. We saw this lady in the airport from Palestine, and she had the Palestinian colors on it. And I really, really wanted to have one, but they didn't have the colors. So we got a couple of them in black and white checkers, the red one. I got a solid white one. And then this green one, and these were from Hurghada. These were 150 pounds each, which is $3. So we didn't negotiate the price on these because I thought that was a great price for these scarves. And the main thing that I went for was to buy myself all of the handmade charms. Look at that. How gorgeous is that? I have them on both sides of my purse. So these ranged from 50 pounds to 100 pounds each. So $1 to $1.50 each. So cute, huh? So that's just my tip. When you go to Egypt, exchange your American money for Egyptian pounds.
The airports in Cairo and Hurghada are honestly some of the worst airports I've been to in my life. I just saw this video where a woman was explaining why she can never go back to Egypt again. And honestly, I'm almost there myself. Egypt itself, wonderful. I really enjoyed it. The airports, they put me through it. And let me just explain. On the way, we flew with British Airways to Cairo, and then we're flying from Cairo to Hurghada with Egypt Air. We entered the baggage hall and collected our baggage. You have to do customs on the way out of the airport, and that in itself is just a mess. It's so chaotic. There's no organization. They're now making you open your bags while your other bags are coming through, and you're like, where should I be? I'm trying to look after my stuff, but you're calling me over here. They take your passport. This lady took my passport out of my hand and wandered off with it. I didn't know where she went. I said, where's my passport? She said, 1 minute. Went to go chat to one other person. Still no passport. We now exit Terminal 3. We're looking for Terminal 2, and we asked this lady, and she's trying to tell us, get a cab. It's a 15-minute walk. The cab is $20. The terminal was across the road. We're still trying to just get our bearings. I'm trying to change trolleys because the trolleys were not working, and she's saying $20, $15, $15. I'm just thinking, have a little bit of shame, just a little bit. We now get to Terminal 2, and the departures is on the second floor and arrivals on the first floor. We have 7 bags, in fact, spread across 2 trolleys, and each bag is like average 25 kg. So think of it as 75 kg and pushing in a trolley. To get up to the departure floor, all we saw were these ramps, like it's like 2 ramps like this, right? So you go up one and up the other. I saw that and I was like, I really don't feel like pushing my body weight up a ramp. So let's try and go through arrivals and get a lift or something. We now get to the door and we're like, okay, look, there's 2 of us. We have these trolleys, 7 bags. We're trying to get to departures. They point to the ramp. And I'm like, there's no lift. They point to the ramp. So we have no choice but to push ourselves up that ramp. And that was, you know, when you're just tired and sweating and frustrated. I was just tired and sweating and frustrated because I was just like, this is so inefficient. This is so annoying. We now get to the initial customs to get into the domestic departures. And they have a line for men and women, but there is no signage. The men's line was much shorter than the women's line. So we were thinking, okay, let's go to that line. And they were just shouting at us saying, you're not a man, go to that line. And it's like, there's no signage. How would I know? What even made it worse, and what was really rude, was that there was a lady in front of us and they were like to her, are you even a woman? How rude. The whole customs process is just inefficient. You put your bags through, then you need to go through the scanner, and then they're patting you down and your stuff is just getting dumped onto the floor on the other end. And they have these workers, and they're not even official airport workers. They're like porters who are from a separate company. They're taking your stuff off for you and then expect you to pay them afterwards because they're taking your stuff off for you without your permission. You see the problem now. They're trying to do that and I'm telling them I have no cash. If I really did have cash, I honestly would have paid them to push all the things up the ramp. We get through, we check in. Check-in process is really long, they're really slow, but And the lounge in the airport is the worst thing I've ever been to, but anyway. Arrive in Hurghada, spend 5 beautiful days in Hurghada. Hurghada is amazing. Really recommend it if you can get past the horrible airport experience. And then it was time to fly back to Cairo. So we enter the airport and you have to now go through this customs line again. And it's annoying because there's so many people transiting and they only have one lane open. Our bag now flags up, but this is after we've traveled, right? And everything has been taken out of the suitcases. All that's left is like a megaphone and some like art canvases because we didn't set in paint. And the megaphone was there on the way, by the way, and it was never flagged at all. So they now look at the megaphone and they bring it out and start playing with the megaphone, start speaking through it, trying to speak. That there's a siren function. They start playing with that, laughing amongst themselves, take out the batteries, go to check the back. These are normal AA batteries. Me and you both know that AA batteries do not need to be checked. It's not lithium batteries, it's fine. And they're there still giggling with each other. And we're like, sir, we have got to go. Our flight is going to leave. And they're still playing around. They were just literally playing in my face and it was just pissing me off. Exiting Cairo domestic terminal was very smooth, very easy. I'll do a lovely day trip in Cairo, see the pyramids, we get back to the airport. Now go through the first customs. Again, it's a thing where you put your bags through, somebody checks you over for a really long time, and it means your bags are just being trucked out the other end. You know how the scanners have those bars and they have like holes in them? So all my stuff fell in between the bars to the floor. You can't fit your hand through those bars. So my stuff is just on that dirty floor and they're all looking at it and I'm looking at them and they're looking at me. And it's like, okay, so what are we going to do here? And one other guy is now shouting at us to open our bag. And I'm like, excuse me, my stuff is all on this floor. Like, give me a second. And he's saying, come over here. Shouting at me, being very like aggressively rude. And I'm just like, what do you want me to do? So I'm gonna start crying at that point because I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just thinking, my beautiful skincare is on this dirty floor and you're stressing me out to open a bag. I'll get there. Let me just get my stuff. One of the other workers comes over and he's like, he tries to help, but he makes it worse. And then he's just looking at me, looking at him, looking at me. In the end, I'm just really upset at everyone. So my friend helps me to get off the floor, just dirty. And I wanted to chuck it away, but I just had to mature. We now get to the BA counter. And by this point, I'm just tired. The guy's now telling me, oh, it's heavy. Are you going to pay the extra? I'm like, sir, I'm business class. I am entitled to 32 kg. What are you talking about? We got to the airport by 2:30 and our flight was by 5:30. It's now like 3:30 and we're still in immigration queues. It's so long. There's still another security queue to go to before you can get to like the duty-free area. And there was so much inefficiencies. They had women in wheelchairs, women with families coming to the front of our queues, and it's like they didn't have their own queue. They should have had their own queue to go through just to make it more smoother for them. All in all, I can never do Cairo airports again. Even Nigerian airports are better than Cairo airports. Like, it was the worst thing I've ever experienced. And I don't know if I can go back to Egypt again.
Potato, $1. Oh my God, look at this. $1 potato. $1. How much is this? $1.
The potato is potato.
Yeah, how much is the potato? $1. 50 pounds. 50? Oh, okay.
One?
Yeah, one.
Two, Abdullah. Two.
Wow, I have never seen a potato contraption like this. Photo? Yeah, all right. Photo. Hey.
لا
No.
يا بايا لا عسل يا عبد الله.
Are you doing a photo or am I doing a photo? It's a photo with the potato.
صورنا مصباح.
Okay.
Hey, photo.
Potato. No.
No touch. Hey, يا مصباح. انت جايب لي فيديو وتقول لي يا مصباح. صور. Hey.
Photo with a potato, only in Egypt.
Look, madam.
And there's just so much happening right now. You put the fire in here.
It's tutu.
Oh yeah.
And it's coming soon, no?
Oh wow. And then I guess the smoke from the fire cooks these potatoes. Okay.
Hey, Blazer.
So I gotta pull out my cash. Oh yeah. You don't have to touch the potato that much.
It's
$1.
Now it's $1.
It's 100.
It's 50.
It's 50, yes. Change.
They're saying different prices to everybody that's walking by.
Close in the back, madam. Close in the back.
Okay, I'll close the back.
1 minute, please.
What's your name, kid?
Abdulrahman.
Abdulrahman
and the pyramid. 20. 20.
50.
40.
50.
All right. Shukran. All right, thank you so much.
No problem.
I decided to make a full list of all the reasons I would not go back to Egypt. But I want to be clear. It is a great place to go to once. It's just not something that I am dying or have the desire to go back to. So these are just things that you need to be aware of before going so that you're not surprised like me. Number one, you pretty much need a tour guide. So I couldn't just like decide I wanted to do something and get up and do it. So yeah, that was annoying. My tour guide didn't also listen to everything I asked for. So like I really wanted to go to a specific restaurant and he like took us to like kind of a tourist trap dump restaurant. And then like the activities he recommended when we were in Cairo were like tourist trap, like dinner and a show on a boat thing. And that's my fault because I know not to get on boat activities unless it's private because you're stuck. You can't get off. Overcharging for activities. If your tour guide recommends something, I would get on Google and see like if you could book the activity yourself because 9 times out of 10, it'll be cheaper. So our tour guide set us up with a driver in all the cities we were in. And the one in Cairo, he had been our driver the whole time. On the last day, we wanted KFC. I was tired of eating food there. Like I just wanted something comfortable. He takes us to KFC before dropping us off at our hotel, and we offer to get him food too. He comes in, and we all get a meal for ourselves, and then he orders like a bucket of chicken, like a full bucket and multiple sides and all this stuff. But like, whatever, no big deal. It's like not expensive. It's KFC. So then he insists on paying for the food. We're like, no, we got it. Like, we got you. And he pays for our food and his. He's like, oh, it's okay. Just like give it to me when we get back to the hotel. We get to the hotel. This man says $90 for KFC. And we know the prices at this point. I've been doing conversions the whole trip, and the meal was like $35. So yeah, that was very annoying. On top of that, we went to Cairo, we went to Luxor, we went to Hurghada. Hurghada is like a beachy place. They have a lot of all-inclusive hotels, which is probably nice if you've never been to like other all-inclusive hotels. But like I'm used to Mexico all-inclusive hotels where everything is all-inclusive. Like maybe you have to pay a little bit extra if you want the top shelf liquor. But here it was like most of the restaurants were not included in the all-inclusive hotel. There were just like a couple of specific places on the property that you can eat, which to me was just crazy. So on my last day in Hurghada, we actually, like, the hotel we really wanted to stay at sold out. So we like got a day pass there for our last day. And so we did end up getting a room because for some reason we had to. I don't know. We got a room, but we did not sleep in it. We did not unpack our bags. We basically put on our bikinis and just enjoyed the property for the day. So for some reason, someone came into the room and put a fruit basket there in a note to someone else. And stole my brother's Apple Watch. Like they literally stole the Apple Watch and left a literal apple there. It was crazy. So like it was a big thing. Like we're trying to get it back. And then like a week or so later, once we get home, like they email us like, oh, we found your watch. Like it dropped under the bed or like it dropped under the dresser or something. Like it's going to cost us $350 to ship it. So if you want to pay that, we'll send it back. Who's paying $350 for that? Just buy another one at that point. My luggage was lost on the way there and back, which is Turkish Airlines' fault, but it just added to the fact of it not being an enjoyable trip. But where I do blame it on the place is we were supposed to have our luggage delivered from the airport, and they said it would take like, I don't know, maybe 24 hours max. We don't get it. At this point, we're going on to the next city. We still don't have luggage like 48 hours into our trip. So we ended up taking a shuttle, like having to pay like $150 to get to the airport at the last minute. Literally chased down our luggage. We get to the airport and they're like, our bags isn't there. They went out for delivery 14 hours ago. 14 hours. We literally pick up our luggage off the side of a freeway. Off the side of a freeway. On top of the lost luggage on the flight home, our flight leaving Egypt to Turkey was late. And we missed our connecting flight by like a couple minutes too. Like they just didn't wait even a second, even though there were like 20 people on the flight that missed the connecting flight. Also, no shocker, but Egypt is just hot as hell. I also did go during a really hot season, so I acknowledge that, but it's like low season for tourists, but hotter in climate, which means like I literally, like you have to do everything at the crack of dawn, and by like 10 a.m. the sun is beaming. Time to go back to the hotel. Or like other indoor things, but like temples, pyramids, all that, you need to be there at 6 a.m. The people selling things to tourists are like begging you to buy. Like it's like uncomfortable how they will literally follow you like down the road, showing you the same stuff you saw at the shop next door, and then like don't show even a little bit. If you look in the store for 1 second just to browse, oh, they own your ass. And then even like at the pyramids, like they're out there selling the little scarves. It's probably a real term for that. But like they put one on my dad's head and he was like, oh no, like I don't want it. It's okay. They're like, no, for you, you got it. Next thing you know, they're following our tour group around. Like, come back, like give me the money. Like you took this. And then, they want a tip for everything. Anything you can imagine, they want to help you, but then their hand is out. Literally, you have to take a golf cart at a lot of the sites. The driver made my sister drive. He is like, he like put her hands on the wheel, let her like steer a little bit, and then said, tip. Same thing. My mom really wanted to ride a camel on the beach. I personally, I don't really like riding animals and things like that. But so she rode it down one direction of the beach, and then he's like, all right, that's it. He's like, your turn. I'm like, oh no, like, I don't want to do it. Like, I really don't want to do it. He's like, dude, like basically begging me. I'm like, whatever. I was like, but I'm not paying for this. Like, you're telling me to do this. We get there, he wants to charge us double. And I'm like, no, I literally told you I am fine walking. I do not want to ride this camel. Then the last thing that pissed me off about my tour guide. So we're in Luxor by this point, and we're at the Valley of the Kings, which is honestly my favorite thing that we did there. And we're going in all the tombs, and he's telling us how the only tomb that didn't get like tomb rated essentially is King Tut's, and that's why like we actually have all of his like gold and his mask and his jewelry, all that thing, like, and everyone like knows the King Tut mask. Like, I think if you know any, like, it's a very known Egyptian like historical figure. So, and I'm asking him, I'm like, oh, like, wow, they still have his stuff. Where is it? He's like, in Cairo at the museum. Why would you bring me? To my tour guide, I'm like, why would you bring me to Egypt and not take me to see King Tut's mask? What? Yeah. Just done. Go one time. Beautiful things to see. Lots of history to be learned. You're just not going to be begging to go back.
You're thinking about visiting Egypt? Listen up. Under no certain circumstances should you ever video or photograph security or military. The country is suffering hyperinflation. They want US dollars, not Egyptian pounds. There's a Marriott called the Mina House that is incredible. You can find rooms for as little as 20,000 points. The property faces the Giza pyramids. It has an amazing restaurant that you can visit even if you're not staying. Nothing will prepare you for the mysteries of the pyramids. Your size of the stones and the steepness will blow your mind. You have to go 30 minutes south to Saqqara. This is where you'll find the first pyramid ever, called the Step Pyramid. And for a small fee, you can go hundreds of feet inside it and actually see where the original pharaoh's tomb was. You can easily fly to Luxor and back in a day. Flights are about $100. You can see Valley of the Queens, the Luxor Temple, and even see King Tut's tomb at Valley of the Kings. You will see the most colorful hieroglyphics. It literally will blow your mind. Make sure you spend some time at Karnak Temple. And if you do want to stay the night, the Hilton is really nice. Rates are like $100 or $150 a night, and you're literally on the Nile. If you're looking to buy souvenirs, here's a little piece of advice. There is no way to authenticate any of the info that you're being given. Have a budget in mind. Don't fixate on if you got a good deal or not. This is my second time to Egypt, and I was so happy that I was able to squeeze in Coptic Cairo and a quick trip to Alexandria. And if you're wondering, yes, I did feel safe.
So after being followed all day by the police on the road, we are now being followed, harassed, whatever it is you want to call it, by this policeman. Just turn to your left here, and somewhere around there's also a big van with like 6 policemen. It's so unnecessary. We just want to get dinner. It's so annoying because Egyptians are the most hospitable, the most generous, the most welcoming people. It's such a beautiful country, but this cannot go on. This is not how you're gonna get tourists coming into this country. This is how you're gonna get tourists be really annoyed and not want to come back ever again and not recommend it. So yeah, speak up about it and change something.
This is tourism, not terrorism.
Well, I don't plan to go to Egypt again as a Nigerian in the nearest future, okay? Let me tell you something before I even say what went wrong. Egypt, after you get out of the airport, was phenomenal. I had no issues. It was beautiful. People are so kind, so lovely. But the airport, I'm not going again. The easiest part of that airport situation was paying the $25 for the visa. After that, it was terrible. Now, I have a British passport, but the guy gave me a form and said, where were you born? I was born in Nigeria. So I said I was born in Nigeria. If I had known, he was about to let me go. He was about to stamp. Then he was like, oh, you were born in Nigeria? I said, yeah. He said I should step aside. I stepped aside though. Asking me questions like, why did you move to the UK? Oh, guy, I was 6 years old. My mommy bought me for a better future. You know, the usual. He was like, what do you do what do you do in the UK? What do you plan on doing in Egypt? Why are you by yourself? You said this for tourism. I said, my friend's already at the hotel. She's waiting for me, blah, blah, blah. He finally lets me go. And I said to myself, this is what I went through. And I have a British passport. My friend has a Nigerian passport. So when I got to the hotel, I was like, what did you go through? She was like, it was hell. We're coming back. I'm thinking it'll be easy because we're leaving your country. Guys, The guy kept us there for so long, staring at our passport. I wanted to say, Pharaoh, 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 let my people go. He called the bomb squad. Bomb squad came, checked us for drugs. They checked us for drugs so many times, guys, all because of this green passport. I said to myself, this is terrible.
Egypt was the very first African country I went to. I'm going to start talking about my African travels by starting with Egypt. Now, to address this comment where she's asking what my experiences was like because she's heard that they can be racist against American Black people, that was not my experience in Egypt, but I think I know why. Now, I've been to Egypt twice, once in 2017 and the other being last year at the end of 2022. Both times I worked with a tour guide who took us everywhere. From the moment we got to the airport, we were picked up, taken to our lodging, and then he picked us up and took us everywhere we went. So there was never a time that we had to kind of be out in Egypt without him being right there. If you are someone looking to travel to Egypt and you are unsure of how you'll be treated as a Black American, my suggestion is to book a tour guide and stick with them the entire time. There was one specific time that we were at a market and we did not have our tour guide with us. This was last year. And we were being called a lot of different names while we were walking through the market. I was being called chocolate. The young lady I was with, she is Dominican, so she's lighter skinned with more curly hair. They were calling her Shakira. It was crazy, but they were just yelling stuff out and, just saying whatever. Our tour guide was not around at that time, but anytime we were walking with him, we were not faced with those same kinds of remarks and stuff. This is the first time I visited Egypt. I was there on a layover. I was there for 14 hours. So I was able to go and see the pyramids of Giza, as well as did like a boat tour on the Nile River. This is a photo of me the second time I went to Egypt just last year. And I got to see the pyramids of Giza again. Not only did we go to see the pyramids of Giza and stay in Cairo, we also took a day trip to Luxor. This is me in Luxor, Egypt at the Karnak Temple, which is absolutely amazing. And again, me and my friend, we allowed the tour guide to book everything for us. We just let him know what we wanted to do, and he did everything on the ground in Egypt. He's actually the same guy that I booked when I was there the first time. So I got to work with him again, and it was amazing. He did a great job planning everything. Here's a photo of me and my travel buddy. And fun fact, this is our first time ever meeting on this trip. She lives in New York. I live in Chicago. We've been friends on Instagram for some time, and we decided to take this trip together for her 30th birthday. It was an amazing time. But this is our tour guide in Luxor. He was amazing and so sweet. He even went over like the history of the Nubians and the African people that were, in Egypt before it was colonized and all of those things. And he just gave mad respect to the native Africans in Egypt. Here's another photo of me doing a camel ride in the area of the pyramids. In conclusion, I had a great time in Egypt both times I was there, and I did feel safe.
So I told my friend to record me while we're on the streets of Egypt, a lower income place of most, but this was my experience. As you can see, all the men, all the boys, all the women, the kids, everyone is giving me this stare down. Well, I thought my dress was appropriate. I didn't think that having my legs and my arms showing, plus a tight attire would make literally everyone turn their heads. Everyone cannot believe that I was outside like this. So this is my advice to you guys when you're traveling out there. Make sure you dress appropriately, because these men are literally lasting one by one, old, young, each one of them. And the women are giving me bad stares. Even this little child was looking at me like crazy. So do not do this. This was the biggest mistake in the area I was in. It could have went really left. And you know that Arabic countries did not play. It's in Africa, but they do not play.
All right, so I'm gonna step in and say this for the tourists who traveled and she was walking down and she was surprised that everyone was looking at her crazy. I mean, these people are not used to seeing arms, not used to seeing skin. The only skin they probably see is your face, and sometimes it's like Dubai. This is like Dubai. Like, I'm not gonna kid you. Like, this is like Dubai. It's like religious, very religious. It's a Islamic base, you know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with Dubai. Like, you can't just go there and expect to just be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show my arms, my legs, and it's a little tight to my figure, and we're just gonna be cool. No, did you see? Everybody was looking. Even the babies were looking at you. So, I mean, at least she told y'all, you know, not to do this, because that was crazy. And yeah, some of these stories that I've been seeing recurring is like the men there are looking you down, because they're not used to seeing that with their women. Like literally straight from children, they're taught not to wear that. They're taught to cover up completely. It's like sacred. You know what I'm saying? It's religious based, like I said. You know what I'm saying? It's religious for the you guys need to research and see the religion for this place's dress code 9 times out of 10. Don't just look at something on TikTok that someone may have photoshopped or may have just did something real quick without being caught, and then don't do that. Just research and then just stay safe, because it could have went real left. What if she decided to do this at night? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? With all those stairs, everyone, like, it's like you just gotta get with the program. So let's keep going.
I got food poisoning so badly in Egypt that I had a seizure and ended up in hospital for a CT scan. Let me tell you the story. First, let me set the scene. It's summer 2018. I Like It by Cardi B is the song of the summer. Me and my boyfriend, now fiance, Dan, we're looking at where to go for our first ever proper holiday together. After much deliberation, Greece, Spain, Portugal, where should we go? We landed on Hurghada in Egypt. Hurghada is a beach resort along the Red Sea, home to stunning coral reefs, a great place for scuba diving, snorkeling, utterly stunning, or so we thought. The price for an all-inclusive week away was just an unbeatable bargain. Anyway, we get there. Things get off to a bit of a shaky start when the sea view room that we booked looked like this. I mean, they weren't lying when they said there was a sea view. You just had to stare long into the horizon over a couple of 100 meters of dry, arid, desolate wasteland to see it. But hey, judging from this photo, I was completely unperturbed, just excited to be away with my boyfriend on holiday for the first time. Also, somewhat off topic, but is there anything more annoying than having a brick wall so high that when you sit down, you can't actually see the sea view over the top of the balcony? Anyway, I digress. On night one, after a whole day of soaking up the beautiful Egyptian sun, we headed down to the buffet dinner. Now, I was a vegetarian at the time, and it soon became very clear that the vegetarian options at this dinner buffet were just non-existent. It was pretty much just bread roll or salad. I did momentarily consider putting my morals on hold and just going for the meat option, but from a distance, it didn't look so much cooked as it looked utterly scorched, so I just stuck it out with the bread roll and the tomatoes and the lettuce. Big mistake. Anyway, flash forward to breakfast the next morning. We sit down at the buffet again for breakfast, and I can tell instantly that something is very, very wrong. I absolutely legged it to the bathroom, and I won't go into graphic detail, but I cannot overstate how bad, how traumatic, how heinous this food poisoning was. I was gone for what felt like a lifetime, and the thing occupying my mind the most was, my boyfriend's going to break up with me because this is absolutely disgusting, and how the hell am I going to tell him that I've got food poisoning on our first holiday together? This is meant to be romantic. Poor boy had been sat alone with his cornflakes at the breakfast buffet for the last half an hour, probably wondering, where the hell have I gone? For the time span of probably about 10 seconds, I did think maybe I can just get away with him not noticing. I could just not tell him I'm ill and soldier on with the holiday for the next 6 days and hope that he doesn't notice that I have the worst food poisoning known to man. Then I thought about it logically for a second, and I realised that there is no way on this planet that a man, would not realise that I was darting off to the toilet every 10 seconds. So when I finally felt safe, I scuttled off back to the breakfast table and I told him to his face. The poor boy was mortified. For lack of a better term, I just had to tell him that I was absolutely fucked. Anyway, the next 24 hours catapulted me to rock bottom. I felt terrible. I have never before or since felt so ill in my entire life. Luckily, being the carnivorous boy that he is, my boyfriend did not get food poisoning at this point in the holiday. We'll get to that. I genuinely think it was the salad. I mean, it obviously wasn't the bread, but the salad is what got me. Back to the story. Unfortunately, and very regrettably, on our first day, we had booked a boat trip, a 6-hour boat trip along the Red Sea to see some dolphins, do some snorkeling, and it was paid for. So we had to go. I mean, we didn't have to go, but we're very tight bitches, so we went. I looked myself dead in the mirror and had a very firm word with myself and told myself, you have to get through this. Here's me fighting for my life on the 6-hour boat trip. Anyway, I survived the boat trip by the skin of my teeth. I managed to not throw up. I didn't have to use the toilet. Things were looking up. By about day 5 of the 7-day holiday, I was starting to feel more human again. But unfortunately, by this point, Dan had also managed to get food poisoning. Obviously, I wouldn't have wished food poisoning on anyone, nor even my worst enemy, but it was somewhat nice to feel like we were in this together. Now he finally understood how dire and how terrible the situation was. And when we booked this trip, our first holiday as a young couple, never in my wildest dreams did I think that we wouldn't be leaving the room, that we'd be fighting each other tooth and nail for the toilet. Really not the vibe I had in mind. After what already felt like the longest week of my life, we finally made it to the last night, and at this hotel they gave you one voucher for the week where you could go and eat in the restaurant as opposed to the buffet. Thank God, we thought. A nice 3-course meal, we can really enjoy ourselves. Obviously, I could not wait to eat something other than a bread roll. I do not know to this day what the vegetarian option would have been had we ate at that restaurant. Anyway, it was at that meal that I had the seizure. After being so hideously ill with food poisoning for the entire week, I was just about starting to feel like a human being again. It was the final night of this absolutely cursed holiday, and me and Dan were going to go to eat dinner at the restaurant at the hotel as opposed to the buffet where we'd been eating all week and where our problems began. The evening got off to a good start. We sat on the balcony, listened to some tunes, probably Happier by Marshmello, which was playing a lot at the time. We played some cards. What is this hair? What is this outfit? What is this makeup? But anyway, I was ill. I'll forgive myself. But yeah, things were looking up finally. We went down to the restaurant and we were shown to our table. And now is where you have to brace yourself, because to this day I still do not understand and cannot comprehend how the following events happened. I sat myself down. I tucked in my chair. I slid in my chair. And as I did, I hit my knee with an almighty force against something under the table. It wasn't the table leg. It was like a bit of the table that was jutting out. Anyway, I vividly remember the waiter standing on my left-hand side asking us questions. Did we want water? Did we want this? Did we want that? And all I could think was, fuck, that really, really hurt. The next thing I remember is just hearing voices. I couldn't see anything. I could hear Dan's voice in the background, off in the distance, saying something, but I was genuinely so confused. I guess I just came to the conclusion that Egypt had unalived me, because it was the most weird experience, and I think unless you've ever passed out and come back round, you will never fully understand how weird it feels. But anyway, after a few moments, my vision did slowly start to come back, and all I could see were these faces looking down at me. So many faces of the waiters, of Dan, of random people in the restaurant. Like, the people in the restaurant were like, with their knives and forks, just like, what is going on? Obviously, as you would. And it occurred to me that I must have passed out. But Dan told me not only had I passed out, I had smacked my head against the concrete floor and proceeded to have a seizure and was convulsing around on the floor with my eyes rolling to the back of my head in front of the entire restaurant. Needless to say, my first thought was, how embarrassing. But then embarrassment just turned to feelings of, what the actual fuck? I'd never had a seizure before, I'd never had any history of epilepsy before, so I was so confused as to why this had happened. I mean, the food poisoning I had was very bad. It was unholy, but I'd never heard of someone having food poisoning so bad before that they had a seizure. I guess I'm just a walking testimonial as to why you should always have travel insurance before you go abroad. That being said, I do think I bought the cheapest, worst de facto rated travel insurance that money could buy, so I was perturbed, to say the very least, at the thought of having to go to hospital. But yeah, I felt so bad for Dan because he looked so traumatized by the whole thing. He was white as a sheet. Okay, where was I? I am lying on my back in the Alfresco hotel restaurant, just coming back round from the seizure and from passing out in front of an entire room full of people. Well, it wasn't a room, it was an outdoor restaurant. But irrelevant details. My head at this point was throbbing like mad from where I had landed on it on the concrete floor. It felt like everyone in the vicinity was staring at me, and in all honesty, I just wanted the ground to swallow me up whole. I was also wearing this utterly hideous leopard print dress, and one of my thoughts out of nowhere was, I really hope I didn't flush anyone on my plummet down to the ground, because that would just be the cherry on top. Next thing I know, I'm in a wheelchair. The staff are rolling me through to the medic/doctor's office so I can have a professional opinion on what the hell just happened. We get to his office and I explained to him what had happened, how I'd been ill with food poisoning all week, how I was just about starting to feel better, how I'd never had a history of seizures ever before in my life, no epilepsy. Dan was able to explain in greater detail as to the finer details of the seizure, eyes rolling to the back of my head, the convulsions, how long it lasted, yada yada yada. But this man, this doctor, he was not concerned, he was not fazed, he was not bothered. Maybe he sees it all the time, I don't know. He did give me an injection of God knows what to help with the pain that was starting to occur in my head. The lump, by the way, at this point was just growing at an exponential rate. Anyway, his advice was if this were to happen again in the middle of the night, that Dan should act quick and quote unquote grab a flip-flop and put it in my mouth to stop me choking. I think just the notion of a shoe that's been on the ground being in my mouth it's a hard no. It's a hard no from me. Just let me have the seizure, you know. But I get the gist of what he was trying to say. He was just trying to help me not choke to death. I obviously asked, you know, how likely is this going to be to happen again? And he couldn't really give me a straight answer. He just said, when you get home to the UK, go to the doctors, get some scans and see if you've got epilepsy, basically. And because it was our last night and we were due to fly home the next day, I obviously asked, you know, how recommended is it that I take myself up to 30,000 feet tomorrow, considering I've just had a seizure and considering I might have a head injury. And he just said, basically, go for it, go home, get out of here. So I was glad, because I would have walked home at that point if I could have. I was desperate to be back, because that week... Anyway, we head back to the room, obviously thinking, really hope this doesn't happen again, because I can't really be dealing with a flip-flop being in my mouth. I don't really want to be choking on my own tongue. I don't want to have epilepsy. When we got back to the room, we realised that the staff from the restaurant had actually brought up the meal that we should have had that night, the 3-course meal, up to the room for us to have, which I thought was really sweet and really thoughtful. I mean, by this point I had completely lost my appetite, but I think I went in for a little bit of dessert to just cheer me up a little bit. But yeah, we spent a lot of the night up just talking, wondering what the hell just happened. You know, did I have a seizure from hitting my head? Was I having the seizure before I hit the ground? I mean, it all happened so quick. I have no memory of it at all, obviously. It's just what Dan saw. But we weren't sure what caused what. Obviously, I am 100% certain that I wouldn't have had this seizure if I hadn't have had food poisoning the entire week. I think my body was just dehydrated. I think I was just fucked as a person. And at the slightest bit of pain, my body just gave up and it went into shock, and it was just done. Anyway, flash forward to the next morning and we are finally ready to come home. The lump on my head can be seen from space at this point. It obviously goes without saying that I was quite nervous to be flying home. I wasn't sure if my head was going to literally explode on the flight, because it felt like it would have done. This is what I look like on the flight home. Try not to make a scene. And, you know, I was just trying to keep a low profile so I could be let onto the flight and just be allowed to get home. At this point in the story, I've had food poisoning all week. I've eaten basically nothing but bread for about 5 days. I've had a seizure, I've got a black eye, I've got a swelling this big on my head, an almighty headache. However, on the plus side, I have made it out of Egypt in one piece. So when I landed back in the UK, my family pretty much insisted that I should go to A&E and get checked out, because as we know, the doctor in Egypt was not the most help. I mean, I felt okay, all things considering, apart from quite a dull headache. But then again, I did take a pretty brutal smack to the head, so I really wasn't sure what sort of damage that could have caused. Obviously, you Google these things and it puts the fear of God in you, so better be safe than sorry. Of course, had the classic NHS accident and emergency experience, which is basically you get there, you sit down for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hours, and upwards. Who knows how long it will take, God bless the NHS, but yeah, it really is an all-day experience. And when I was seen by a doctor, he basically said that unless I had 2 or more seizures, it was very unlikely to be epilepsy, so that was a huge relief. Then he sent me for a CT scan to make sure I didn't have any damage to my brain or my head, and luckily that all came back fine as well. And because he wasn't there at the time, and because a few days had passed, he really couldn't give me an exact answer as to what had happened, but he basically deduced that because I'd been ill with food poisoning all week, I was likely dehydrated, lacking of electrolytes, that the slightest bit of pain from hitting my knee that day just sent my whole body into shock. I passed out, I hit the floor, landed on my head, and then landing on my head caused the seizure. So it was just this domino effect of horrendous bad luck. And the day after that, I was meant to be starting a new job, which was really not ideal timing considering I had black eye, head was bruised. I'd been through the trenches at this point. But yeah, it's not a good look, is it, calling in sick on your first day at work? So I did my best to cover up the bruising, and obviously that did not go very well, and I just had to start the new job. That was one way to make an entrance, that's for sure. In terms of the recovery, it was long. So it took a really long time, I would say about a year, for the swelling in my head to fully go down. There was just this lump there that would just never go down. And in terms of the food poisoning, it took about 9 months for me to feel fully normal again. My stomach would make this constant deafening rumbling sound whenever I ate literally anything. I did go to doctors a few times about it, but it didn't seem like there was a great deal they could do to help me, so I just waited it out, and eventually, after many months, I started to feel myself again. I guess you just have to be super careful with what you eat when you're abroad. We were actually really careful with the water. We didn't drink the water, we avoided the ice, but I just thought at a 4-star hotel that had pretty good reviews that, you know, eating the salad, the fruit and veg that they put out would be fine. airline, but obviously not, as many people have pointed out, so thank you for that. Would I ever go back to Egypt? Not without writing a will first. I joke. So I would love to see the Nile, I would love to see the pyramids, I'd love to see the Valley of the Kings. I would ideally have liked to have seen the Red Sea when I wasn't fighting for my life. But yeah, I would like to see more of Egypt, and the people at the hotel were so lovely. After I had the seizure, the staff the next day were all asking me, "Are you okay? Hope you feel better. Can I get you anything?" So they were all really, really kind people. And I absolutely love travel so much, so it'd be a real shame to not go somewhere again just because I had a bad experience. I would like to think if I went again, I might have a better experience. I mean, it can't be worse, so.
The city that I felt the most uncomfortable traveling as a Black woman was Cairo, Egypt. Let me start by saying it was a breathtaking experience to see the pyramids of Giza up close, and I loved all the food I tried. I stayed at the St. Regis Cairo, where they had a really sweet welcome gift waiting for me for passing the bar exam. My room overlooked the Nile, where I took a boat one day. I also visited a traditional apothecary, a gorgeous mosque, and got to climb 200 feet down into a pyramid in Saqqara. However, the men in Egypt can be very aggressive. As I walked through the several bazaars in the city, there was excessive catcalling, stares, and even got followed for several blocks by men. There seemed to be a fascination with darker skin tones, as a lot of the terms I was being called had to do with my skin. In addition, at the Egyptian Museum, I was bombarded with fellow tourists blocking, sneaking photos and videos of me, and invading my personal space. Overall, moving around was unsettling.
Horror travel story ahead, guys. So here it comes. I left Egypt yesterday. At the airport, I walk into the airport, and before I even get in, they were already scanning all the luggages and stuff like that. And so they detected my drone, and what happened next is that I was treated like a fucking criminal. Okay, I felt like they would put me in a jail cell, really that bad. They were ganged up on me, like 10 police guys, and what do you do? Like as if I was a spy or something like that. Really fucking horrible. And the only thing I had was the audacity to have a drone in my luggage. So they stole all my memory cards and my drone, and there was one guy, he was kind of okay and cool, and he calmed down the other ones. And so I didn't end up in jail. I could take my flight, but my drone is gone, and I'm screwed because there was a new drone, DJI Mini Pro 4, and I'm so pissed. And now I'm in Thailand. So what is the conclusion here? The morality of the story is that life is always gonna throw curveballs at you, and then it's how you respond to it. What I'm gonna do is just gonna double down on my content production and tell you better vlogging story.
13 teenage boys have been arrested recently at the Giza pyramids for harassing 2 female tourists. Apparently, these boys claim that they only wanted photos. However, a 35-second clip has been submitted by a tour guide who was at the pyramids, showing that the boys were holding up video phones, following the girls, that one of the girls tried to get away at one point and pushed a boy out of the way, and that someone touched her inappropriately from behind. And essentially, this tour guide, who actually filed the complaint, not the girls, did this because he wanted the Minister of Tourism to be aware, and because he's concerned about how this will be perceived by other tourists. Now, being that I traveled to Egypt recently, alone as a woman, I can say from first-hand experience that the tour guides, anyone working in tourism, security, do have a vested interest in you staying safe as a foreigner. Tourism is a huge part of the economy in Egypt. While stories like this are scary, I think it just goes to show that Egypt is taking steps to make it a safer place for women to travel.
I felt so uncomfortable visiting Egypt, and I'm going to tell you why. So scamming is a big issue here, and I didn't really know how big it was as a first-timer. The Great Pyramids of Giza especially. Don't let anyone take a picture of you, don't let anyone put anything in your hand, and don't follow anyone if they have something to show you, because they will demand money from you. So we went with a tour guide, but don't even feel safe if you're with one, because ours had a lot of friends in this area, and they just kept offering us tons and tons of upgrades, like climbing this rock to get a picture with the background, and if you refuse to pay them, it can get kind of scary. Everyone says that you need to have a local or tour guide wherever you go. This itself is completely absurd because, for example, if you are a solo traveler, it kind of defeats the purpose of solo traveling. But then again, I definitely wouldn't recommend coming to Egypt alone, especially if you're a woman. That being said though, if you have a good tour guide, they will know what's real and fake when it comes to scamming, so for that you can trust them. But the hustling culture here is insane. Everywhere we went, it was non-stop begging for us to pay for something. If I'm being completely honest, I did not feel safe life here. And being here made me so uncomfortable every day. When it comes to men, they do stare at you. And it's not even a normal stare. It's one of those really uncomfortable stares where they'll never take their eyes off of you. I was also really scared of losing our luggages as well. We had private drivers wherever we went, but whenever we got dropped off at a site and left our bags in the van, I was for sure I was never going to see them again. That being said, this was my experience being in Egypt, and even though the country itself is beautiful, just the people and the environment did not make me feel comfortable at all. So let me know what you guys think down below, or if you've had similar experiences like I did.
I am day 10 in Egypt.
Didn't think I believed in ghosts until something has happened that I've experienced that I cannot explain. Okay, story time. I just got back from my third trip to Egypt, and in Egypt there is a statue that is off limits to the general public. She is locked, and you have to pay a lot of special permission money for entry into this private temple where this statue is. So this is the statue of the goddess Sekhmet. She is locked in a temple with pretty much pitch black, with a tiny hole in the ceiling that allows a little bit of sunlight to come through. That is the only light source. That is the only electrical anything in the building. So long story short, when I first met Sekhmet last year, when I entered the temple, some creepy stuff started to happen. I've done a whole YouTube video documenting exactly what went down with the whole group of us. However, in a nutshell, when I walked into the room, to the chamber, I felt like somebody had cattle prod the back of my neck. I had such a huge electrical surge through my body that the hair on my legs and arms and everywhere was standing on end, and I got like instant pins and needles through my body, which I'd never experienced before. So since last year, one of the members of the tour had the funding to send back equipment to test for electromagnetic activity. And turns out, yeah, the statue is emitting large amounts of electromagnetic energy. Nowhere else in the room, just the statue. And like I said before, there is no electrical equipment in the building. There is nothing. A lot of places in Egypt have put modern lighting in for the tourists, but this is not a tourist area. It doesn't have anything of that kind. This is the statue. Okay, now here's where stuff gets really weird. Not only were we all experiencing like physical anomalies entering the temple with the statue in, but our cameras and electrical equipment were also freaking out. For example, this photo was taken on an iPhone, and when they attempted to take a photo of the statue with a flash, this is what happened. The screen completely whited out. Now, this is only supposed to happen if you literally shine like a flood lamp torch into an iPhone camera. So these two photos were taken milliseconds apart, one with a flash, one without. The one with the flash went crazy, and the one without was able to capture a photo. Now, I noticed afterwards, if you look at the geotag of the two photos taken milliseconds apart, they have completely different geotags. All of the photos that were able to complete have Karnak Temple as the geotag, and the weird one that went crazy, geotagged to the Nile.
What was it like traveling Egypt as a Black American woman? Let's talk about it. I spent a few days in Egypt solo before my friend joined me, and to be honest, her and I had a lot of discussion around the topic, and we both felt so much love from the locals that it was actually kind of weird. We got called brown sugar, cousin, and sister more times than I could count, asked for photos, and received a lot of compliments, especially because my friend has a lovely bald head. We were treated with respect everywhere we went, and overall had a great experience.
If you guys value your life when you fly and value your safety, please do not fly Air Cairo, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, we paid for an extra luggage and extra baggage, and we weren't allowed to bring it onto the flight. We show up, we're measuring all the things on the weight, and they're saying, okay, cool, next. But then what comes down to it, they're like, nah, actually, your luggage can't fly. The extra luggage you guys paid for, the plane's too heavy already. We're like, all right, well, first off, we were going to get a refund? No. Could we get on the plane? No. So only I got to fly on the plane, right? But they gave me the luggage that was able to fly with me. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. My siblings ended up sleeping the night in the airport, again, because Air Cairo is terrible at communication, right? So they end up sleeping the night at the airport. They get the next flight the next morning, right? I'm flying all alone, and as I'm going in the line, like basically doing it, I'm kind of annoyed, obviously, because I want my siblings there with me. I'm noticing every other person getting arguing with like the people that were arguing with us earlier about their carry-ons and how heavy they were. Long story short, we all get into the plane. There's carry-ons that are way too heavy to be even on the plane, whatever. I'm sitting in an empty aisle again because 2 seats are open next to me, and then behind me there's 3 more empty seats. So now I'm just getting more confused. I was like, how are there this many empty seats? All these people had these carry-ons that were way too big to be us carry-ons, started putting their luggage behind me, these carry-on luggages. So I'm sitting there just sitting with maybe 15, 20 pieces of carry-on luggage right behind me. I'm sitting alone in the back of the plane, and I'm like, whatever, just say Bismillah, right? Just close your eyes, hope this hour and a half passes by quickly, and then boom, you're done. You're in Egypt. As we're landing, I swear to you, people are starting to stand up to go get the luggage from the back. The plane is in descent like this, and the lady is screaming at the top of her lungs, please, everyone, sit down, everyone, please sit, screaming, and then everyone's yelling, and I'm like, this is it, this is how I go, because everyone's bugging, everyone's wilding out, this is it. We end up landing. The whole last 30 minutes just screaming, yelling, kids crying, everything going absurd, right? Everything you think can go wrong in an airplane can go wrong, is going wrong. Then we sit down, we get lay down, we get out, I wait for an hour and a half on the turnstile. My luggage ain't even there. 15 other people's luggage ain't even there. So now I have to do a ticket, find my luggage, get my stuff a week later before we go traveling somewhere else. And I'm sitting there thinking, now only if this airline had common decency and common sense to not be complete trash. So again, do not fly Air Cairo. Whatever you do, do not.
So, we're exploring the rough, poorer areas of Egypt, of Hurghada, and it actually makes you think that we're so lucky.
We're so lucky. We have little kids running up.
We have little kids running up to us.
It's so, we just give 250 away.
We've just bought a bracelet. Yeah, no, man, it's so sad. Oh.
No, it is really
Bless her. That was rough. Not a good experience. That was not a good experience. She just nearly started crying, man, because some guy locked us in the shop. Some guy locked us in the shop and was trying to say someone needs to be wrapped up, and then he was not happy, and then these little kids, and then there was these little kids that were just sat down selling stuff, trying to get money, working. And when I tell you, the kids were about 5 years old. 5 years old. It's sad. It's scary, It's scary, Now we're going back to the marina. We turned around and didn't want to stay in the market. We shouldn't have gone through that part. Nah, we shouldn't have gone through that part. We didn't know it was going to be that bad. That's scary, that.
We knew it was going to be bad.
That was scary. Yeah, but nah. Just going to stick to the parts that we know now.
Everyone's beeping because it's Ramadan and no shot.
Everyone's beeping, man. But yeah, but that's us, man. We're just going to stick to the marina now. We're alright. We didn't want to record anything. We didn't want to record anything in the proper markets, man, because of how rough it was, and we were just on edge.
Yeah, I thought my phone was going to
We were on edge, man. There was just people looking and just following, and that was nah, not again. I'm alright.
Stayed at a 1-star hotel in Egypt for a video, and I ended up getting harassed. It was actually terrifying. Oh my god. Oh my god. No. A group of men ended up following me around for the next 20 minutes, even though I was walking around in circles trying to lose them. I love being a girl. Anyway, this was a 1-star hostel. It was definitely something. I thought these were hotel slippers they provided, but then I realized they belonged to the person who stayed in the room before me. A 3-in-1 bathroom, and the hotel room smelled really bad of cigarettes, and I realized that's because you can smoke inside. Quite a common thing in Europe, so it didn't take me too much by surprise, but the hotel room door didn't lock, so that put me on edge, and I ended up staying at a 5-star hotel instead, which I'm going going to review on TikTok for you tomorrow.
It's completely unsafe and you need to cancel your girl trip. Here's what I would be saying if you didn't watch this video all the way through. I planned a girls trip to Egypt. Here's my itinerary so you can do it too, and I'm going to drop the tea on how you can do it completely safely. The key to traveling Egypt safely as a woman or in a group of women is if you have a guide. And I don't mean getting just any guide, because a lot of the guides are actually very crooked, y'all. They will put you in more uncomfortable positions than they will save you from. I found a private guide. One, he owns his own tour company, so you can book with him from beginning to end, and he will give you discounts on all of these major activities. I can't speak highly enough of this man. His name is Michael. Michael not only advocated for us every single step of the way, including making sure to tell us when people were upcharging, negotiate for us in Arabic. We did the same popular activities that everyone would. We did it at locations that nobody knew about because he wanted us to have those experiences, but have them in our own way, without the crowd. Y'all, I say this with 100% certainty. Our trip would never have gone this way if it wasn't for Michael.
Okay, so if you want to travel Egypt and you want to have a good time, there are some rules that you should really follow to make sure that you have a good experience. I just finished hosting my 3rd and 4th group trips in Egypt, and the ladies had a great time because they all followed these rules. So I'm going to tell you what they are so that you can follow them when you take your trip to Egypt. Number 1, if you stay in the pyramids area, which we typically do on my group trips, you are not allowed to leave the hotel. Also, when we're on the cruise, you don't leave the cruise ship. And this is really just for your safety. Once you leave, we can't really control what happens. And you don't know the language, you don't know what's going on. So it's really safer if people just stay where they're supposed to be. Number 2, dress appropriately. If you're a woman, you need to be covered up, honey. I mean, covered up. No crop tops, no shorts. I want to see your knees. No have your back out. Nothing see-through. Number 3, under no circumstances should you ever engage with street vendors. Don't even look at them. Pretend you are blind and deaf, honey. Get you a dark pair of sunglasses and act like you Ray Charles. You can't see them, honey, and you can't hear them. Because once you start engaging with them, they will be on you. Okay, so don't say nothing to these people. Number 4, tipping is always included in my group trips. So we have a no tipping policy. Once you get here and you're on the group trip with me, you don't have to tip nobody. You've already paid for it. Number 5, of course, we go through a tour company to make sure that we have a good experience, that we have a tour guide with us all the time. So if for whatever reason we do have some type of issue, there's always somebody who's here to handle it, okay? Now, I know some of this may sound extreme to you, but to be quite honest, Egypt is kind of extreme. So extreme times, extreme measures, you know? Either way, the ladies always enjoy their time when they do follow these rules. So if you follow these rules when you go to Egypt, then you should be completely fine.
I'm by the pyramids, and this is one of the biggest mysteries in the entire world. There are over 2 million blocks here, and it took 100,000 men 20 years to build it. That's about 3 minutes per block, and look at how big it is. When they tried to recreate this in modern times, as soon as they started, they stopped because they said it would take 200 years to build it. There is scientifically proved magic to these pyramids. Anything that goes inside does not decay, and they tested this with multiple things like a raisin. Things will dry up, but they never decay in there. Many of like the major scientists and revolutionary people who like made electricity and things like that, they studied the Great Pyramids. Till this day, they don't know what the pyramids were used for exactly because it's far too complicated to just be a tomb. Also, the very tip of the pyramid had something called, he told us it's called ultram, which is a mix of gold and silver. To this day, we cannot successfully mix gold and silver together. And it was supposed to reflect the sun like beautifully. This is insane. Also, there are voids in the pyramid that can hold up to a Boeing, I think 767, 300 passenger plane. And there are multiple voids in there, and they've been studying for over 25 years to be able to get into those rooms, because if they knock down the wrong wall, the whole thing could fall. So many aspects of this is inhumanly perfect. Like some part of the distance is the exact distance between the earth and the sun. Something, if you go around the entire thing or something, it's the exact speed of light. When you go inside, the speed of sound travels 3 times faster. Like, this is like, wow.
Mistakes I made in Egypt that you should avoid. The last one is illegal. Hey, I'm Amanda, and I share actually useful travel tips. Taking a picture of governmental buildings. I didn't know this wasn't allowed and was asked to stop and delete the photo. Not carrying enough small bills. Tipping's customary for, well, basically everything, and it's much easier to just have a bunch of small bills on you. Generally, if anyone is offering to help you in any way, just be prepared to tip. Only allocating 1 day to Luxor. While the pyramids are the most famous thing in Egypt, Luxor has my favorite historical sites, and I wish I'd spent more time here. Touching basically anything something that's in an ancient site. It's all an artifact. I sat here because the light was so pretty, and I'd seen a few images online of people doing something similar. Afterwards, I was like, I feel like that's probably not allowed. I asked our guide, and he was like, yeah, people do it all the time, but it's illegal. Are you going to get in trouble for it? Probably not, but just don't do it.
Don't travel to Egypt without watching this video. I've been here 5 times, so here's what you need to know that no one ever talks about. Wi-Fi is pretty bad or non-existent everywhere, so don't expect to get much work done here. If you have a Discover card, go ahead and leave that at home because they don't accept that in Egypt. Make sure to carry small Egyptian pounds with you because a lot of places charge money for the restroom. USD cash is accepted, but most places prefer that you pay in Egyptian pounds. If you don't want to deal with the street vendors, wear dark sunglasses, don't speak to them, and don't look at them. Any sign of interest will have them bothering you and following you. The absolute worst time to visit Egypt is in the summer. The temperature is 100 degrees or higher. The sun is harsh and no one wants to have a heat stroke on vacation, so just go in the winter instead. If you're looking for quieter spots, unlike Cairo, visit Siwa, Sharm el Sheikh, El Fayum, or go desert camping. And whatever you do, be sure to book your excursions and activities with a good, legal tour company like Egypt Travel Tours so that you get set up with a good tour guide who treats you like family and make sure you don't get scammed.
Do not go inside of the pyramid. Now, I know you're going to come for me in the comments section, but let me show you why I wouldn't do this again. Now, you do have to pay to go inside the pyramids, and I've listed the prices, which I think is not worth it. It's a really tight tunnel when you go in, so if you are someone of the larger size, it is really taxing. You have to walk on these wooden panels inside, which I didn't mind, but it is really tiring. And this is what you can expect when you get inside.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, you're going to feel so frustrated, especially after being scammed all day. Instead, take a flight over to Luxor. You won't regret it. And visit the Valley of Kings. You do have to pay for this as well, and I've listed the prices below, but it is worth every penny. But for some reason, the white Egyptians drew themselves brown. I wonder why. And by the way, they don't like the use of tripods in here, so if you're a solo traveler, it really becomes difficult sometimes. I did get a tour guide for this. You don't have to, but if you're a history nerd like me, then you're going to love getting all the nitty-gritty information. I went into a total of 3 tombs and it was so worth it. I would highly recommend this experience.
I was younger, I lived in Egypt for 2 weeks. It was super random. It was the first time I'd ever left the country, and it was like a total culture shock. Some guy came up to me and offered to trade a camel for my cousin. At first we were like, that's funny. And he was like, no, I'm being serious. Like, I'll literally give you a camel if you give me your female cousin. Super weird. They told me not to eat any food. Like, they told me not to eat like any vegetables, don't drink the water. Right off the bat, I ate something with tomatoes in it and I was like shitting my brains out for like 3 days straight. It was really cool though. I got to go inside the pyramids. I got to see all the tombs all over Egypt. I flew all around Egypt and stuff like that. Keep in mind, I was only like 11 years old when I did this. And I was sent to Egypt. This wasn't my choice. I was sent to Egypt. I had this grandfather who like had traveled the world, and he was like, oh, I want you to see an 8th wonder of the world. The flight was 14 hours. I was the only one on the plane that wasn't able to sleep. I saw Indiana Jones with Shia LaBeouf, like that movie. It was really bad. I remember even at that age, I was like, this movie sucks. At the time, I had a phobia of going to the bathroom in public, and on the flight, I had to shit. So like, I had to poop on the plane, and it was like one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. I had a tour guide, and the tour guide was like, you know, really respectful, really well spoken. He was really nice. And then at one point, like, I went into a bathroom to pee, and the tour guide came in to also pee. And then there was like a water bottle on the urinal, and he took the water bottle and like sprinkled it on his private parts. And I remember I saw it happen, and then the rest of the trip, like, I couldn't really take the tour guide seriously. I was just like a random young little kid, like traveling Luxor, walking around Cairo. It was pretty fire.
The Egyptian woman that you just saw in that video, Manar Sami, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for the content she posted on TikTok. But what exactly was she posting on TikTok that got her sent to prison? Well, nothing out of the ordinary. Dancing, lip syncing, and basic innocuous content. But she was arrested in 2020 on charges of, I'm going to read this to you, inciting debauchery, immorality, and stirring up instincts. Yes, she was arrested for immorality and inciting debauchery with her dancing TikTok videos. Well, Manar, like I said, was eventually sentenced to 3 years in prison. This happened back in 2020 when a number of Egyptian female TikTok influencers were randomly targeted and sentenced to prison time. After being found guilty, she was also ordered to pay 300,000 Egyptian pounds to the government. She did eventually get out of prison though, and she's still active here on TikTok. And over on Instagram too. I just couldn't believe it when I saw that video and saw that content like that got her sentenced to 3 years in prison. It's pretty wild to me.
What's the craziest stunt you've done?
I climbed the pyramids of Egypt and I went to jail for that.
It's illegal, right?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to climb on them like that?
No.
How big are the stones?
Like up to here.
You made it to the top though?
Yeah.
And then you got arrested at the bottom?
Well, yeah, once I came down.
How was the Egyptian jail?
Yeah, it's really scary just because like they were all staring at me more so than anything. Like they would just stare me down for hours when I'm like in the holding cell. It was fine. I only stayed there overnight and then I just like paid the bail and was able to leave. So it wasn't bad.
It means they glow in the dark. When we turn off the lights, it's showing, and most of them is completely changed without lights. For example, this is the Egyptian calendar, right? Mm-hmm. I will turn off already. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my God.
Okay, it will be the cat. Her name is the goddess Bastet, symbol of happiness in ancient time. Oh, sorry, we have also here the tree of life. It's the medium size. It will be changed completely, huh?
Yeah, wow.
It will be the key of life. Most of them it's completely changed without lights, and also we can see some of them it's just glow in the dark.
Yep. He bought you the VIP room.
And here, what do you think? What do you think? What's that one?
That's it.
A sheet of paper? No.
No.
I will turn off. You can look at that one. 1, 2, sorry.
I was so scared to go to Egypt, but this is what it was actually like. Today, we're going to go through Cairo and do the absolute most. We started our day at 6 a.m. and raced to go four-wheeling before it got too hot. We went right outside of the pyramids. My favorite experience is in Cairo and so worth it for the incredible view of the pyramids from a distance. And we went to go actually see them up close in person. It was even crazier than I expected, and we got the extra pass to go inside, which was totally worth it. I recommend it. Then we went to the camel market that happens at the pyramids. This was one of the most absurd things I've ever seen, but again, a really cool view to see that they're actually not the same size and so necessary for pictures. You can pay to ride a camel or take pictures with it, but I really don't recommend doing this as they're not treated well and you shouldn't support that. To be harassed while you're there, you just have to ignore it and be polite and say no thank you. After the pyramids, we headed over to the temple by the Sphinx. This is actually where they used to prepare bodies for mummification. It was so awesome. And then the Sphinx is right next to it. We were at all of these things before 10 a.m. and they were relatively empty, so I recommend getting there early. And then around the corner, you can go to this really cool cotton store and see some authentic Egyptian cotton and designs. These were like really great gifts and souvenirs, and it was honestly just incredible to see all of the textures. Headed to the Old Egyptian Museum, which I really recommend doing after the pyramids because you can learn a little bit more about the history of the pyramids, what was inside of them, as well as just see like some incredible Egyptian artifacts. There was so much gold and so much cool stuff. It's one of the only safe places for tourists to walk around. It's called Zamalek. Really disheartened when they said we couldn't go anywhere alone, but we actually felt really safe here walking around. We did try to head out before it got dark though, but we went to this incredible record store and then we got dinner at this restaurant, which I highly recommend if you're going to Egypt to try authentic Egyptian food, which I wish I knew before going here. Follow for more Egypt itineraries.
Rules of coming out to these tourist areas. Number 1, don't let anyone take your phone to take your picture. Number 2, don't let them put anything in your hand. They're going to try to give you something, don't take it because they're going to want you to pay for it. Number 3, there's lots of dogs. They're peaceful, just leave them alone.
Time of the most embarrassing thing that happened to me in Egypt this summer. So I was flying in from Paris to Egypt, and you know how typically on shorter flights, let's say domestic flights, they give you snacks, peanuts, pretzels maybe. Okay, this is good to know because you'll understand the confusion a little bit more later on in the story. So the flight attendant is walking down the aisle and he stops at our seats. I have my AirPods on and my noise cancellation on as well. Okay, I could barely hear my own thoughts. So that flight attendant asks, "Baskot Masri?" I go, "La shukran," like no thank you. He asks again, and I was like, La shukran, you know, they must be really good freaking cookies or biscuits if you're asking me several times, right? And he starts getting an attitude. It says it again, like, Baskot Masri, and I was just like, La shukran. He wasn't asking if I wanted Egyptian cookies or biscuits. He was asking if I had a passport Masri. Because when you're entering a country, they always have you sign these little pieces of paper that say this is where you're coming from, this is the type of passport you have, and maybe there's a different type of paper that you are given if you have an Egyptian passport. When I tell you, I turned this color red when I realized that he wasn't offering me Egyptian cookies like the little pretzels or peanuts that they usually offer us on planes. He was asking if I had an Egyptian passport. I was so embarrassed. My friend was dying of laughter next to me, and then I started laughing too. So next time you are in public and you're maybe potentially, even if it's a 1% chance that you are going to be talking to someone, don't have noise cancellation in. I didn't know that I was going to be engaging in anyone, and I couldn't turn off my noise cancellation fast enough. But in my defense though, Baskot Masri, Passport Masri, the confusion is there. They're very similar, okay?
If you're going to a country like Egypt where the tap water isn't that safe, you need to be careful with every single thing you eat. I was done back in these days and I was eating up the salads they were serving me, and that was my biggest mistake, bro. Because obviously with the salads, yeah, they're going to wash it with tap water. And obviously I didn't think that through until I was on the toilet for hours. Let me show you guys the food I actually ate that gave me the maddest food poisoning of my life, man. You see this meal? This meal was leng. The little sandwich, whatever they gave me was leng. The chicken in the bread, succulent. The fries were actually decent. The salad, yeah, the salad you see on the side gave me the food poisoning. Bro, I didn't realize until I was on the toilet that it was a salad that gave me this. Cause bro, I was being careful. I wasn't drinking any tap water. But I don't think it was even this meal. I think I got the same meal another time. Probably this meal and another meal gave me this like triple food poisoning, man. Bro, it was so good I even had it again. And I think this was the meal that gave me the food poisoning, bro. Like, if you ever go to a country like Egypt or something like that, don't eat any salad. Just eat something that's strictly not washed with tap water. Cause I'm telling you, once you get food poisoning once, you're gonna have the worst time of your life, bro. Like, bro, I'm telling you, my hotel toilet got absolutely decimated. It got destroyed. What made this even worse, yeah, is that the next day I was doing snorkeling in the sea and I had the maddest diarrhea. I'm very surprised I didn't poo in the flipping ocean.
Alright y'all, that's it for this video. If you've learned something from this video, let me know down in the comment section. For me, I have definitely learned. I will definitely go to Egypt, I'm not gonna lie. If I have to dress up like them, do what I need to do, prepare, yes, I have learned a lot from these videos, from the tour guides and all this other stuff. So just to be prepared, I definitely want to go to Egypt. It's definitely something, just those once in a lifetime things. Like, who doesn't want to see the pyramids? I do want to see those breathtaking moments. I want to see those big ass structures, the stuff on the wall. I want to see that. I want to be part of it. I want to see what's up with it. Like, give me a little history. I love me some little history, you feel me? I love me enhancing my mind to know what happened, you know, because who knows what happened back then. But yeah, I can say this, the way these structures look, in my opinion, I feel like back then they had to be giants, bro. Even the blocks, I don't believe normal sized people were able to carry that stuff. Maybe like, do y'all think like God like had giants back then, and then he was like, nah, I'm gonna make y'all like a little smaller to accommodate the earth, and then they were, I don't know, girl, I just be thinking. But that's just me. I be just thinking, I'm like, damn, the blocks is big, the structures is big. Like, no, like there had to be big, like big people, like giants. They had to be big to be building stuff like that. Like, no way. I don't know. But that's just me anyway. That's just the beauty of the mind. We go places with it. You think about so much stuff. You learn about a bunch of stuff. So that's just me. But yeah, like I said, if you've learned something, if you experience, tell us about your experience in Egypt. If you went, if you're going on vacation to Egypt and learned something new and you're like, oh my God, yeah, thank you, let us know that in the comment section. I really appreciate y'all. And like I said in the beginning, thank you so much for 20k. Thank you so much for 20k. Like, this is a beauty. Like, this is a beautiful journey, honey. And it wouldn't happen without saying thank you to you guys. So with that being said, I hope you guys stay blessed, and I will see y'all in the next one. Turn on your post notifications. See y'all in the next one. Bye.